Everybody has a childhood story they wish to tell. This is my story. As a child, I lived in Australia from the age of 5 till I was about 11 due to my father's job. We lived in a house located on a cul-de-sac, which meant it was at the end of the road. This also meant we lived in front of a forest, or a bush as we would call it in Australia. Every week, when my cousin would come over, we would delve into this bush and find a creek. We were very adventurous, so we would follow this creek constantly until the path was getting narrower, so we needed a way to cross. We found a way. It was a very shallow part. Ironically enough, it was a part where the water started dipping in, where it looked more like a water slide in an amusement park, only it was rocks and it led into a billabong. Crossing through this part was dangerous, but also our only option unless we wanted to get wet. After crossing the river, we would keep following it. We would follow it a bit further until it reached the billabong. Here was something that always kept us on our toes, because something always in the back of my mind. One of the first stories you hear, one of the legends of Australia, of the bunyip, which was said to be a magical creature that would take people and kill them. It usually lived in billabongs. This was our only fear on our trip, passing through that billabong, passing through that small area, knowing that that bunyip could be there. We were not afraid of the snakes, the spiders, or the many other animals that could be in that forest, but this creature somehow captivated us, kept us there, always gnawing at the back of our minds. But nonetheless, we kept walking. After another couple minutes, we reached a part where the trail seemed to be more walked. Oddly enough, for a reason, there was a small sewer. It was not a typical sewer, it was more like just the lid and some very high steps we would go down. These steps were high enough for us to have to jump down or have to reach up and jump when we were coming back. It didn't matter to us. We were on an adventure. We didn't care. We were kids. And we kept going. The bush got denser and denser, and we kept walking, following this tiny path which no longer seemed even visible. But we kept going. For what reason? Don't know. We were kids. We were young. We did not care. We just wanted to keep going. Then something wonderful happened. It seemed as if the bush just opened up. It was kind of like a grove. There was no small brushes, just several large trees. Everything around it was completely covered in green. It was kind of like a circle, the ground soft, filled with bark and other leaves, and grey, because the trees were white and their sap was red, but after a while the sap dissipated, leaving it almost grey. We walked along this. It was wonderful. It seemed as if every sound resonated in this small area, because there was nothing to stop it. It seemed as if it collected there. After fascinating there for a while, we usually kept walking. Again, it got denser. We just kept walking. We did not care where we were going, but we didn't know where. We kept walking and it got denser. Here was a part we all hated. It was this area filled with swordgrass, long, large weeds, whose leaves were very long and very sharp. We would never wear shorts when delving into this bush just because of that area. The first few times we had our legs completely cut. Our hands also. Even our faces got cut sometimes. But it would be worth it by the end of our trip. After surviving that gauntlet, after surviving the bunyip, it was almost there. We were there at our destination. The forest seemed to open up a bit more, and there was a very large rock. Somehow it just fascinated us how large it was. And what seemed even funnier was one type of rock they called sandstone. And around it were other small stones, different colors, purple, red, even greens. So our trips consist of us walking all the way to that giant rock and coloring it with the other ones. We named this rock Rainbow Rock for that reason. We never actually continued further beyond that rock because we could kind of see a house in the distance, and that kind of killed the mood of us being alone, cut off from the outside world. This was our world, our adventure, our rock. And if it meant we had to stop at this place, it was fine by us. Because this rock symbolized our childhood and